Good morning from Mae Hong Son, Thailand. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm just leaving from my guest house now. I'm staying at a place called the Lake View Guest House. Very basic, kind of simple place. I ended up here partially because of the name, and they have the name, the Lake View, because it offers a view of the lake beyond it, and people in reviews mentioned how nice the view is of the lake. But it turns out that the lake has been drained. It's just a giant mud pile at the moment. So there is no lake view, but that's okay. I'm happy just about anywhere. And I don't know much about Mae Hong Son yet. I arrived late yesterday afternoon. I didn't go out exploring. This morning I went out to a really nice coffee shop and had a morning coffee, but I couldn't record any video there. There's music playing all over the place. So my day, as far as video is concerned, is starting right now, and I'm only going to go to one place. I'm looking at it right now. It's up on a hill, and there is a temple right up there at the top of this hill. And I love places like that, especially when you first arrive in a new city, because it gives you an aerial view of your surroundings. It's always nice to get up high and get a look at where you are so you can get oriented. There's the temple right behind me. I think it's about a 20-minute walk to get up there. I considered taking the scooter, but I was on the scooter for a lot of hours yesterday, so I thought I'd give my legs a bit of exercise this morning. And I think the temple is called Wat Phrathat Doi Kongmu. Wat Phrathat Doi Kongmu. Beyond the name and the fact that it gives you a nice view of the city, that's all I know about the place so far. I found the small road that leads up into the hill to the temple, and I'm walking backwards because the sun is over there. So the sun is hitting me and hitting the temple behind me. So for that reason, I may find myself going up to this temple twice today, once now and then once more towards sunset, because with the sun over there, it's hitting the city from that direction, which means probably everything visually is going to be washed out, kind of hazy and not that clear. But yeah, Mae Hong Son is a pretty small town. My guest house is right downtown, so it'll be no problem to walk back up here again at the end of the day, if the views right now are not that clear. But certainly clear from this direction, because that's how the sun is hitting it right now. Already getting some nice views of the surrounding hillsides. As you can see, with the sun coming from that direction, it's a little bit hazy, not that clear. And this appears to be the entrance to the temple complex right here. Oh, there's a sign with some English on it. That's nice. As I said, I don't know anything about this temple, if it has a story or a history or something interesting about it. Let's read through this. This sign is for the temple here at the bottom, and apparently this is a separate temple called Wat Phrathat Doi, and it's well known for a very large reclining Buddha, made of wood perhaps, I'm not entirely sure. And then you climb up from this temple to Wat Phrathat Doi Kongmu. And apparently this temple dates back, according to this sign, to 1875. I've got a neighborhood dog, objects very strongly to my presence. Anyway, let's walk in here and see if we can find the reclining Buddha. See if it's made of wood or out of stone. Another sign at the entrance. I don't see any reference to wood here though, so maybe I read that wrong. Wat Phrathat Doi was named by the figure of the sleeping Buddha image, which was built of bricks and concrete by the first ruler of Mae Hong Son in 1875. The image was about 12 meters long. It is the sign of a Tuesday birth and situated on the holy cave at the west. We welcome every tourist to visit here and wish you to be happy and live well forever. So when it comes to a greeting, arriving at a temple, you can't get anything nicer than that. And here's the gate, and it has a small sleeping Buddha image right up at the top there. And here you can see Mae Hong Son through the gateway. Wow, look at that. Stairway leading straight up to the top. They don't mess around with switchbacks and winding back and forth. Stairs straight to the top. So it makes me wonder whether this sleeping Buddha, the reclining Buddha, is the original, built in 1875. Is it the exact same one, or has it been rebuilt? I don't know where it is. I'm getting the feeling that the reclining Buddha is here, inside this building, but it isn't open. We might have to leave the reclining Buddha to our imagination. That's a very nice view, looking up to the top. I love these guardians. It's got some serious claws. Yeah, it's starting to feel like walking was the best way to get here. I think if you came by scooter, there would be a completely different route following some kind of a road, but then you wouldn't be coming through here. Slowly climbing higher, the seated Buddha is there off on the right. There are the hills of northern Thailand. I assume I'll be riding my scooter through those hills in a few days, heading towards Pai. And at the bottom of the stairs, they have a container of water. Water is generally a symbol of purification, so I imagine that's why it's been placed there. And two guardian creatures here at the very bottom. Ah, and my old friend, laterite. Pretty sure these are laterite steps. I didn't take any video of my ride here, by the way. I started off in the city of Mae Chaem, which is right beside Doi Inthanon, which is the highest mountain in Thailand. That's where I spent Christmas Day, and I shot video of my Christmas Day on the mountain, right at the base of the steps. Just stop for a second just to show that. It looks great. Laterite all the way up to the top. But my idea was to ride basically from Mae Chaem to Mae Hong Son in one shot. It was about, 160, 170 kilometers. Turns out there was a nice small countryside road going from Mae Chaem for about 100 kilometers through the countryside before it linked up with the main highway 108. And what I didn't realize is that that road to and out of Mae Chaem and Doi Inthanon is considered kind of an alternate route for the Mae Hong Son loop. The normal loop would take you to Mae Sariang, and from there to Chiang Mai, or Chiang Mai to Mae Sariang, if you're going clockwise. But apparently this route through Mae Chaem has developed as an alternate way to go. I wasn't aware of that. I just ended up doing it by accident. And for what I could tell, it was a better way to go. Much more remote, going through some beautiful farming countryside in Thailand. A lot of corn harvesting going on, strawberry growing, beautiful villages, steep climbs up and down mountains. So yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit. My favorite aspect to this temple so far is the leaves all over these steps. Giant leaves like this. Look at the size of it compared to my hand. And these are falling from the trees all around and landing on the steps here. When I was in Mae Chaem, I booked a few nights at a small guest house. But since we're around Christmas time and New Year's Eve, most of the hotels in this area are booked long in advance. And I find that kind of an interesting aspect to the modern world, which never happened in the past, because I'm used to taking a hotel room and then just sort of playing it by ear. If I wake up in the morning and I decide I want to stay longer, well, I just go find the owner and say, I'd like to extend my stay by another night or 2 nights or a week or whatever it is. But you can't do that anymore because I decided I wanted to stay in Mae Chaem for a couple more nights. But I found out that my room, the one I was staying in, had been booked out from under me online, of course, which happens all the time now. Someone booked the room online and I wasn't able to stay any longer. So I had to find a new place to stay. And at first I thought, well, if I have to pack up fully and move to a new hotel, I might as well just ride all the way to my next destination, Mae Hong Son. But I stumbled across this hotel that was right across the street, like literally just around the corner from where I was staying, and I got a room there. So I didn't even have to use my scooter to move. I just grabbed my backpack, wore it like a backpack, and walked to this new hotel and got a room there. And then I went back to the first guest house, got on my scooter, and rode it over to the new place. And it turned out it was really nice. It was like had a weird name, sort of the Song Tam Building in English, a very boring name. Didn't have a fancy hotel name or something like that. And I thought I was getting a standard twin room inside the building, but I ended up with a separate house, a complete cottage. I wouldn't quite call it a bungalow because it didn't have any kind of a beachside bungalow jungle sort of vibe to it. It looked like a small house in a way, you know, a little cottage. But it was a lovely little room, very modern. The only problem was I couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi. That always happens for whatever reason. I could connect to their network, the Wi-Fi network, but I kept getting a message saying that this Wi-Fi network had no access to the internet. And I could have found someone to try and fix the problem, but I just went, forget it. I just didn't bother, and I lived without the internet for a couple of days. And that's as far as I've made it so far, up the stairs. And there's a lookout point here. Oh, look at that. That's amazing. And they have an airport here, the Mae Hong Son airport. I saw people saying online that coming up here was fun because you could stay for a while and watch the planes land and take off. But now with the pandemic, there probably aren't very many planes, if any at all. But it's a beautiful view. I'm assuming that this trail along the wall will lead to the rest of the temple. I didn't see any other way to go forward. I knew I had a fair distance to cover from Mae Chaem to Mae Hong Son, 100 kilometers through the countryside to get to 108, and then another 60 or 70 kilometers up 108 to get here to Mae Hong Son. So I got up pretty early and I was on the road pretty early. I can't remember exactly what time I started, but it was the weather was different from my other mornings here because it's been extremely foggy in the early morning, and the fog sticks around for a long time. But I guess that must have been a weather system, because when I left on that morning to come here, there was no real fog. There's a little bit of fog, but then I actually saw the sun rise above the mountain, above Doi Intanon behind me. That was really beautiful. So I didn't see a sunrise from the top of Doi Intanon, but I did see a sunrise coming up from behind it. But I didn't feel the warmth of the sun for quite a long time, I have to say. It was cold. It was a really cold morning. And it took a long time for the sun to rise above the mountains and above the clouds. And even then I was going through such dense mountain ranges or hill ranges that I was often on the side of the hill away from the sun. So even when the sun was quite high in the sky, you know, as it is now, I would still be in the shade because I'd be riding right beside a hill. And I was cold for a very long time. Funny thing is that when I went up on Doi Intanon for Christmas Day, I happened to find a single glove at the side of the road. So I grabbed it. It was in perfectly good condition. So I had one glove for my left hand, and my right hand was still bare, so it got quite cold. And I was wearing my orange jacket, but my orange jacket isn't thick enough, really, to provide much warmth or much protection from the wind in particular as you're riding the scooter. And I'm such a dummy, I keep forgetting that I have more clothing than that. I didn't have to wear just a t-shirt and the orange jacket. I have quite a thick shirt that would have provided a lot of protection from the wind. I could have put that on top of the t-shirt, and then I could layer my clothing. But for some reason, it never occurred to me to do that. And I think that's because when you're sitting inside your room and you're packing up and getting the scooter ready, you're not moving through the air, so it feels much warmer than it's going to be once you're moving on the scooter. So once I was actually riding, it was like, took very few minutes before I was like shivering and shaking. I ended up with a really sore neck because you end up so tense from the cold that, you end up with a muscle soreness all over the place. But yeah, that was a cold morning, but wonderful, amazing morning, riding through those mountains with the foggy banks down in the hill, in the valleys below me. My trail, by the way, was over there. The walking trail has linked up with another walking trail. This is probably the main trail I was supposed to be on. As you can see, it's quite a bit wider in both directions. But this is where I'm going, up to the very top. A funny thing is, it was so cold and the icy wind was cutting right through my jacket to the point that it felt like my heart was freezing. It was kind of a weird sensation. It was like the interior of my chest was getting overly cold. And I ended up riding, like I had my one hand with the glove on it, and I put it over top of my heart. It was like an effort to keep my heart warm. And it made a big difference, just sort of crossing my arm over my chest and holding it there. Actually kept my heart much warmer. So that was kind of a weird thing. Yeah, that glove reminded me of bike tours I've gone on, in particular in Canada, because you're riding your bike along the highways in Canada and you find all kinds of things at the side of the road and in the ditch. So I found tools, for example, like a screwdriver that was very useful for my bike, found it at the side of the road. Needle nose pliers. They went into my toolkit and I carried them with me for years and years and years. I probably still have them. I remember finding music, like cassette tapes, that got blown out of cars and landed in the ditch. One time, I think I got a tape, I think from the Bangles. I remember two songs, one Walk Like an Egyptian and Manic Monday. Are those both by the Bangles? I can't remember. But I found tapes with those songs on it and I just played them over and over and over and over again on my bike ride. I found a book on tape at the side of the road. I can't remember the name of it, but I listened to it probably 100 times before that bike tour was done. And I found a copy, I remember, of Stephen King's It in the ditch in very good condition. And so I got to read that book while I was camping overnight. So on a bicycle, of course, you're going slower and you can see everything at the side of the road. On the scooter, not so much because you're moving too fast, but on the highest mountain of Thailand, I found a glove. And it's now in my scooter for when I need it. I don't really want to wear gloves on the scooter because I'm always fiddling around with cameras and smartphones. And then the gloves just get in the way. So I do like to keep my hands free. But one glove, like Michael Jackson, that's all right. Still climbing up. Funny thing about taking video all the time is that you definitely seem more out of shape than you are. I am out of shape, there's no question about that, especially since I became a scooter guy. But when you're walking, is one thing. Try walking and talking at the same time. You really get out of breath. So I end up huffing and puffing like crazy. Sounds like I'm about to die. But it's really just the combination of shooting video and walking at the same time. I wouldn't be breathing this hard if I wasn't talking. That's my excuse anyway. The corn harvest was a big part of that trip through the countryside because I got to see all these places. They seemed to be central collection points where they brought the corn harvest from the surrounding farms. And they had huge machines parked there, and these machines would detach the corn kernels from the corn cobs. I was wondering where that took place, so I saw a bunch of these sites, and they created huge mountains of corn tassels, like the leaves and the tassels that they cut away from the corn cob. And these were left in massive piles everywhere, like mountains of them. And I was wondering what they do with them. I saw a couple of places where they were making bales of it, and maybe they were delivering the bales somewhere, but do they use it as fertilizer somewhere? Do they spread it out on the fields again? I have no idea. But they had a lot of it to deal with. I'd never seen that before. And I was wondering earlier how they got the corn into the trucks. And on this ride, I came across a number of silos, like giant corn silos, very similar to what we'd see in the prairie provinces of Canada. And I guess, that was how they got the corn into the silos, and then from the silos, they could pour them down into the trucks as the trucks, pulled into place beneath the silos. So I learned a lot more about the corn harvest in Thailand. Still climbing. I heard a temple bell, so getting closer. Made it almost to the top. There's the trail just met up with this road here. So I guess this is where I would have come from if I'd taken my scooter. There's the parking area over there. This is the trail that I came up. And that is the temple complex up there. And I read something about a cafe, and it looks like there even is one. They have little umbrellas over there. So that'll be nice. Getting a little bit of a view through the trees. That's where I came from, down there. Oh, there's the lake. Yeah, there's the empty pond, the empty lake. Still makes me laugh. I book a room for the view of the lake, and of course when I get there, it turns out there is no lake. But it makes for a good story. Oh, I can't wait to get to the top, get a clearer view, look at Google Maps and kind of get oriented. Just curious whether this valley directly ahead, is that the valley you follow to go to Pai and Chiang Mai? I don't think so. I think the road to Pai first goes off in this direction and then goes around these mountains and then in. So I wonder what's up there. I'm already thinking about staying in Mae Hong Son longer than I planned. Well, actually, I always planned on staying about a week. But when I first was arranging accommodation here, I couldn't find a single hotel that would let me because all the hotels are fully booked on New Year's Eve. On December 31st and New Year's Day, everything is fully booked. Even the hotel I'm staying in had no availability, so I thought I would have to leave on New Year's Eve, spend the day riding to Pai just to find a place to stay. Yeah, a lot of photographers at the temple, of course. You can see two of them up there. One has a tripod. Let's see how much the view has opened up. Wow. It opened up a lot. It's amazing. I guess it's a pretty big deal, the 1,864 curves of this road. Well, of course I'll be stopping here for a cup of coffee. But first, let's go for a walk around the complex. So you can buy for 20 baht a glass of 1 baht coins or some kind of coins. And then you put perhaps one in each bowl or all of them in one bowl. I don't know exactly what you do here, but that's interesting. And over here, I thought maybe there would be fish, but it's another sort of oh, look at that. Kind of a wishing pond, a wishing river. It has a Buddha on a boat with a lit candle. And they've created a current to carry him around this river. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. I wonder if it's a tradition that they've come up with themselves. How easily he makes it around the corner. Look at that. Perfect curve. A skilled Canadian canoeist could not have done it better. Look at that. And they've developed a lot of traditions here. Some special flower arrangements you can buy with a grouping of twigs, which I'm sure has some significance. And then over here, I guess you can buy these heart or leaf-shaped medallions and inscribe your name or a message on them, and then hang them up here. How much do these, this just has a donation box, so I guess you donate as much as you wish. I've noticed that all the people that have bought the plants are now walking around the pagoda holding the plants. So I guess it's part of a blessing ceremony for the plants that they bought. You can see the people here, all each carrying one plant with a little platform, some incense, and the 3 twigs. And this is the cafe and coffee shop up here. It's actually quite interesting because I noticed when I was coming in, I passed this kettle on a fire. I saw it from the outside, but I wasn't sure what it was. But they have a sign here in English that says, herbal juice free. So I guess if you get something to drink, you also get a little cup. There's the ordering window. And then you can get free herbal juice. I notice there's another one up here. There's a platform up here. And then there's another kettle. I just saw someone pouring some of the juice out. I don't know if I'd call it juice, I guess. May not be the best word. A kind of herbal tea comes from one of these kettles. I'm really enjoying myself up here at the temple. I've already had a iced latte. That didn't last long. And I saw someone else here drinking an iced green tea, and it looked so good that I ordered one of those as well. And once I finish this, I'm going to try some of their herbal tea from the kettle. I really like this green tea. I've had it at a few different places, of course. Yeah, really tasty. I'm always surprised, not always, but I'm usually surprised by the prices at these places, because considering the setting at this amazing temple with incredible views of the city and the countryside, they could charge a real premium for the drinks. I mean, they could charge double normal prices, you would think, but all these drinks are about the same as any coffee shop in town, or even cheaper. They're for an iced drink like this, my latte and this green tea is 40 baht. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, I paid 40 baht for my coffee this morning at that really nice coffee shop in town. Up here, they could easily charge, 50% surcharge on top of that just for the setting, but they often don't. Yeah, it's weird. And I've been watching some of the people that are coming up here to the temple, and I commented on everyone buying the flowers, the potted flowers, and then they walk around the temple as a kind of a ceremony or blessing. And I've noticed that they're all leaving the flowers behind after they go around the temple, around the pagoda complex. I don't know how many times. Then they generally leave them on a shelf here, in one of the shrines embedded in the pagoda. So they buy the flowers and then they leave them here at the temple. I read another sign here that had some more history, and both of the large pagodas here, you can actually see them from where I'm sitting. I'm in the coffee shop right now, and this is my view from here. So these are the two main pagodas, and each of them apparently contains the remains of a well-known monk from history. And one of them was built in 1870, I believe, and the other one was built maybe 5 years later by the first king of Mae Hong Son. So these are quite old, very well maintained, of course. Yeah, look at the setting. I can't get over this place. It's really so nice. You can sit up here right by the temple, and right behind me, look at that. View of the city down below. Look at how small my cup is compared to this giant kettle. Okay, it doesn't feel that heavy, so there's not a whole lot in there. Let's see. Oh no, it's got some in. It's kind of a clear tea of some kind. Let's see what it tastes like. Not a lot of flavor, kind of a very, very mild tea, if you can even call it a tea. It does call it, in the sign they say something about juice, right? Herbal juice. And it does have a little bit of a fruit flavor to it. But with my brain and my palate, I have no hope of identifying the fruit flavor for you, so I have no idea. But yeah, it's fine. It's nice. It's a nice touch, isn't it, to have a giant kettle like that over top of a fire at your cafe. See more and more people walking around the pagodas carrying the plants. Yeah, they have so many ways at this temple for people to participate in some way, to make a donation to the temple and buy incense or plants or put coins into water fountains, all kinds of ways to ask for blessings at the temple in exchange for a small donation. The longer I stay here, the more things I notice. For example, the area over there where you see the boat with the Buddha and the candle going around that little artificial river. It turns out you kind of buy or rent the boat from that table. You see the little boys sitting there. It's 99 baht. And then you can light the candle, and I guess you put the boat on the river, and it goes around until the candle burns down. And I've also noticed that the people that buy the plants, like this man right in front of us, after they've walked around the pagoda a certain number of times, they leave the plant in this alcove indicated by their birthday of the week. So this is the Thursday spot here. So if your birthday, the day of your birth was on a Thursday, you would leave your flower here. And I remember looking into this before, and my situation was a little bit complicated because I believe I was born on a Wednesday, and somehow in their system there are 2 Wednesdays. And I keep having to look it up, what the difference is between the 2 Wednesdays, but here's one Wednesday. And I think there will probably be a second one in another spot. Ooh, this is a popular one. Look at all the plants that are here. This is a Friday. So I guess a lot of people were born on a Friday. Oh, this one is you can put candles here. And after you leave your flowers behind, you put your incense here. Actually, I just want to get my facts straight. So I want to go back to this sign over here that had a little bit of history. Oh, look at this. A little nod to Christmas. A display of Christmas bells right outside one of the pagodas. As I said, there are all kinds of things you can do here. A lot of them I don't even know at all. Here's another one for 20 baht. Oh, these are the Christmas bells. So you can donate 20 baht, and then you can take one of these bells and I guess add it to this display. Maybe they're not Christmas bells at all, but they look like Christmas ornaments to me. And there's something else here, a long cloth on rollers. And I guess you make a donation here, and then you can write your name or a message on this cloth. And when it becomes filled up, I guess they just roll it, and eventually fills up the entire roll. Ah, but look at that setting. Does not get nicer than this. And here's the sign that I was talking about. The history of Phrathat Doi Kongmu. Inside Wat Phrathat Doi Kongmu are 2 important pagodas housing the holy remains of Buddhist monks. The large pagoda was built in 1860. It houses the remains of Pra Mahamokkala Natera, brought from Myanmar, formerly Burma, by the builder named Chong Tong Su and Lek, his wife. The small pagoda was built in 1874 by Phaya Sihanoth Racha, the first ruler of Mae Hong Son. So 1860 and 1874 are the dates for these 2 pagodas. And this is interesting too. The bells that people can ring, there are 3 different sizes in a row, and you get a different tone from each one. It's a close-up view of the 3 bells, 3 different sizes that you can choose from. Or maybe you ring all 3 of them in sequence, and these are all the different pieces of wood that you can use to ring them. These ones look to be pretty old, and maybe these are the newer ones. One last look at the pagodas. with the people over there walking around with their flowers. It's a very popular tradition. Seems to be the most popular one up here. I wonder if the flowers get reused after they've, like, what are you paying for? You're paying for like walking around with the flowers once, and then they're collected and then rented out or sold again. Kind of makes sense. You wouldn't want to throw those away every single time. But one last look at the temple. And the beginning of the stairs heading down. Circumstances have made a liar out of me, and that was not the last look at the temple. I'm back. It's later in the day. It's actually just after 5 o'clock, and the sun is so clear and bright in the sky. I thought it'd be interesting to see the view from up here in the late afternoon. And this is the parking. I rode my scooter up here this time. And there's a large parking area back here and a lot of shops you can see around me selling souvenirs and clothing, snacks, all kinds of different things connected with the temple. And there's some more information signs, one from DTAC telling us the same history of the temple that we saw before. But this sign from True Move adds some more information. And it says that the original name of the temple was Phrathat Doi, meaning hilltop. But it was later changed to the name Phrathat Doi Kongmu. And I guess Phrathat means relics, Doi means hill, and Kongmu means pagoda. So both names are pretty literal when you think about it. This is like the pagoda hill or the hilltop. Not the most imaginative of names, but I guess this is the key part, the fact that they have relics inside both of the pagodas. And I like this sign right beside it. The tourist police is always your first friend. Who knew I had a first friend here in Thailand? Have to meet this guy. Didn't know he was my best friend in the country. Yeah, still quite busy up here today. And since I'm here, I'm going to take advantage of the coffee shop again, have another cold drink there. We'll see when I look at the menu, but I think I might have just another green tea, iced green tea. And maybe sit up here long enough to see a little bit of the sunset on the hills across the way there. Look at all those people ahead of me, again, walking around with the flowers. Anyway, yeah, you can see much gentler light now in the late afternoon. Yeah, it looks to be much nicer light now, much softer. The town of Mae Hong Son. And here I am, back at my current favorite coffee shop in the world. Then again, any coffee shop that's right in front of me is currently my favorite one in the world. And look at this, perfect seating. They even have a chair with a backrest, like it was ready-made for me. I can just turn it around to face Mae Hong Son. I went for a slightly different drink this time. I went for the lemon green tea. So we'll see what that tastes like. Well, the lemon green tea turned out to be something quite different from my other green tea. The other one was more of a milky tea. This one is more clear. I guess lemon would not mix well with milk, right? Now that I think about it, it would end up curdling. So, yeah, clear water with a lemon and green tea. I'll give this the taste test. They didn't lie on the tin. Lemon and tea. Really strong lemon taste. Yeah, tastes good. If I had to choose, I think I would go for the regular milky green tea. That's just more pleasing to me. I guess I'm more of a milk guy than a lemon guy. That's always nice to try something different. Oh, I'm thirsty too. Oh, I love the light changes out there as the sun is getting lower and lower. And this really is the last look at the temple there behind me. The sun has gone down over the hills. Mae Hong Son below me is kind of in shade now, kind of in shadow. Just a tiny bit of sun catching the very top of those clouds over there. So, evening is settling in. It's time for me to get back on the scooter and head down. Actually, I have to get gas for my scooter tonight to get ready for any small adventures of tomorrow. Used up all my gas getting here to Mae Hong Son the other day. I haven't had a chance to fill up the tank yet. So, as I said, that is it. And I'll turn the GoPro around. One last look at the two pagodas. And I'll see all of you in the next video.